Did you think we weren't going to be here? Did you really think we weren't going to be here after that show? Seriously. Paul? Come on.
What the hell? It's funny because there's a group chat for one of the fantasy football leagues that Mario was in until he got kicked out. And then
you had to bring it up.
The Bills take a 1-point lead after a fortuitous drop on an extra point. And I jokingly said, don't blame me for this. I jokingly said, guys, don't worry about it. The Bills aren't going to let a team with a losing record hang around.
I immediately tweeted out, if you guys don't follow us on Twitter, of one of our many socials, game days are really fun. It's full of salt and chaos and spite and a bunch of other things. I think you guys should, if you're not on Twitter, it's no big deal. But if you're on Twitter, let's have some fun with that. But I mean, hey, let me get to the preliminaries real quick. Thank you for joining us for the hashtag sports presentation of the Buffalo Bills versus the Denver Broncos, where the Buffalo Bills fall to 5-5, losing a heartbreaker 24-22. You can find all of our socials, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook in our link tree. All episodes will be going to iTunes and Spotify. Our sponsor for tonight is Mr. Rogers Homes. Brochure is in the description of this video. This is the most drought feeling. Now, I'll just give you a little premise. We've said this before. You guys that watch us, make sure you hit that like button, that subscribe button while you're here. It lets YouTube know this is a good video, and we're going to have a good one tonight. Paul and I have been doing this for a decade, guys.
Yeah.
So if you guys we're doing this thing, not really on YouTube, but we were doing a podcast since 2013. So we are well aware of the drought and had to talk about it many times on PostGame with, and it's, what would you say it was? It was cathartic.
It's easy to cover the Bills when they're winning. It is a passion to cover them when they suck. And boy, did we cover them.
But it's funny too, because I think a lot of outlets that just started covering them when they got good are going to have a rough time with this one. And we're smiles and laughing, and we're like,
it happens, man. It happens. Man, you go against a wily veteran of a coach and Sean Payton with a team that's actually played pretty well the last couple weeks.
Yes.
And I'll be honest with you, right? The savviness of Russell Wilson is what saved the Broncos tonight. And I mean, you could certainly say a pass interference call, on the final drive of the game, or 12 men on the field saved them. All these things can be true, but the savviness of Russell Wilson, there were some things that he did tonight that you just don't see from Josh. And I don't, we always like to talk about that dog and Josh Allen, but sometimes you got to know when to pick your battles. And the underhand flips from Wilson, huge plays.
Absolutely.
And
then Williams out of position. Yeah.
Right. And then the touchdown pass to Javonte Williams, he knew Bernard was not going to clear the crosser from Judy and he just knew he was going to have to take the hit. There was just no doubt, but he knew once he saw the blitz coming that Javonte Williams was going to scamper into the end zone. All he had to do was get him the ball, and he took it. Josh would have danced around a little bit, bought himself a little time that he didn't need. And, and again, Josh was out there throwing passes tonight that he had no business throwing. And I've got something I want to say about that, but we'll get to that in a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, the fire McDermott, fire Dorsey, clear out the cabinets, start anew. Josh not running in certain positions, we're gonna hopefully, guys, if you stay with us long enough, we're gonna hopefully clear your mind of some of these things. Because I mean, it was funny to see, for me though, to see tweets going out from people who are pretty reputable that cover the Bills saying, this is not on Dorsey. This is not on Dorsey.
Yeah.
Allen was doing this. Allen was doing that. And I'm like, guys, you're 4 weeks late, bro.
No, I think there was a reality point, because I'll be honest with you. This offense does not look good when the Bills aren't trying to run the ball. There are a couple drives there where they just gave up on running the football, and those drives ended pretty quick. Buffalo's got to they got to stay on schedule. This is not an offense that's going to score from anywhere on the field. We've talked about that the last couple of weeks. Like they certainly have the ability to, but they don't, right? So yeah. Yeah. I'll hang up and listen.
This isn't GR. You're not going to get some canned answer, Mike.
Yeah, let's address the elephant in the room, right?
Let's
Defensive
address
pass
that.
interference. Pass was admittedly underthrown. So whether the ball is underthrown or not, it's not uncatchable. So the rule or the pass interference would stand by rule. Defensive pass interference, right? Is it ideal? Of course not, right? The defender does not have the advantage at any point during a pass play, right? The defender has no advantage. So regardless of whether the ball is overthrown, underthrown, if it's underthrown, the receiver makes adjustments. Unfortunately, the corner's just reading body language. So by the time they pick up what's happening, it's often too late. So Mario, talk me through that defensive pass interference.
Yeah, we talked about it right before we came on the air, and I was just saying, you know what, that is going to get called 10 times out of 10. And I don't care what happens. I sent a tweet out roughly around the first quarter. I was watching so many games this weekend, and I was watching quarterbacks that were throwing balls that were just short. And obviously the defender, if they're in man coverage, their back is to the quarterback. Like you said, it happens so fast. They have to read what the body language is of the wide receiver. So therefore, if it's short, they're going to just barrel into the wide receiver. It's pass interference. It is. The problem with that call is, number one, it's not up for interpretation by the referees. If the guy runs into him, it's pass interference. Cut and dry. Right. Let's go.
Yep.
If you decide to take that penalty or amend it, it's up to the discretion of the referees, which I don't think any of us want that, because they have been absolutely atrocious on a lot of things. I want to say, though, this game is not on the referees. You can't put this game on the referees. There were some calls there that were a little questionable, but in what NFL game do you not get questionable calls?
Right.
It shouldn't even have been that close to do that.
Mm-hmm.
It really shouldn't even.
Agreed.
But that being said, there are some rules and that happen in the NFL that have to be adjusted accordingly. Like, let's say this: if Paul and I are on opposite sides of the line, and he has a hold on a play, and I have a personal foul, how do they offset? How is that like offsetting penalty? And now we're going to go down a rabbit hole with the penalties. I just want to but those are some of some of the calls that really have to be examined in this offseason for NFL officiating. And somebody's got to hold some of these refs accountable for some of these games. I'm not saying that, like, I don't want this getting taken out of context. It's not for tonight. Like, there were some missed calls. There are always missed calls. There's some things tonight. But by and large, the Buffalo Bills should not have been in a position where a pass interference on a zero blitz cost you the game. There's many things that cost you the game tonight.
Well, and let's just call it what it was, 2 times in a row, right? Because the Bills had just run the same blitz on the play prior. Now, McDermott was asked about that in his presser, and the reason that they went back to that play was because they were concerned. They thought the field goal target line for them was the 40. If they got to the 40, they'd kick the field goal. So they didn't have a lot of room, in their opinion, and they didn't want Russ to continue to try and make time with his feet, because he had done a couple of those shovel passes and just kind of bought enough time to be dangerous. So McDermott said, if we were going to go down, and I'm not kidding, this is verbatim, if we're going to go down, we're going to go down being aggressive.
Oh, God.
So
you know what? Then just do a double A gap blitz. You don't have to bring the corners as well.
Yeah.
You can have the safeties over the top. If he tries to throw that floater,
right.
Russ is a vet. As much as people want to dog him for what happened last year and the start of this year and everything else like that, he's a veteran. He knows how to get out of those situations. If you say, okay, you blitz him the time before, you sack him. The second play is, if they come with that again, I'm just putting it up. You know that.
Well, and it's not like you can disguise that very well either, right? No. Like, everybody knows you're coming. But with that, right, I think there's something to be said about the Bills' pressure packages today for allowed Russ to step up. And Russ at this point is not really going to hurt you getting to the outside, right? He just doesn't have the speed really to be all that dangerous on the outside. You got to stop Russ from stepping up. And I get what they were trying to do, but to run the zero back to back again when they were not in field goal range just doesn't it still remains to not make sense to me, right? The same thing, like I'm not upset about the 12 men on the field because you got Dorian Williams in the middle of that. He's not counting. He's not counting.
Yeah.
Like this is what happens. They caused chaos by taking a knee instead of just kicking the field goal and giving the Bills 10 seconds. They took the knee first to cause chaos, but they knew they could get the field goal off because they had done it already with less time.
Yeah.
So, that first field goal where they rushed everybody off and rushed the field goal unit on was the reason they were comfortable enough to take that knee at the end of the game, because they had more time the second time than they did the first time. Hey, guess what, Mar? We're not alone.
We're not alone.
Oh, hey guys.
Oh,
hey Ryan.
Guys. Get in the middle there, guy.
So Ryan, you were there? Were you there?
Oh man. Oh yeah. Made great time getting home too.
Yeah, I see that.
You did make some great time. That's pretty amazing.
So how fast did the wind get sucked out of that stadium when James Cook started playing Australian rules football today?
This was. I've kind of joked around with you guys about this over the last couple of weeks. This was the most drought feeling that I've had in that stadium since probably 2018.
We're just talking about that. We're just talking a drought game, right?
Dick Duran head coached Buffalo Bills loss.
just for some
those losses where no matter what positive happened for the Bills, I went back to what I used to. My father goes to the games with me. I just kept looking at him and goes, it doesn't matter. None of this matters. None of this matters. That big James Cook comes in first play he gets after he fumbles the ball and sits out for 15 plays because apparently Sean McDermott needs to send some kind of a twisted message to the team. He comes in and he catches that little flare route, makes a couple of guys miss, picks up like 17 yards. I looked at my dad and I go, that doesn't matter. They're not going to win this football game. There was no indication whatsoever that they're going to win this football game at any point in time.
And just for a little context, Ryan, before you continue, how long have you been a season ticket holder?
This is my 22nd year, I believe.
Oh, so you've witnessed the drought live.
So we had season tickets like pre-drought and then all through the drought. We've sat in the same exact seats. 22 seasons. We've had the exact same seats. Row 244, section 244, row 3, seats 9 through 11 have been.
You guys want to see Ryan? That's where he is.
This was it was just absolutely, yeah. I mean, it was you pick your drought head coach. Dick Duran, Greg Williams.
Vita Vega
Rex
comes
Ryan.
in. He's like, this feels more like a Greg Williams loss than a Dick Duran loss.
I mean, I was saying to you guys in our group chat over the week, like if EPA and DVOA was around, like there would be people storming the gates to keep Chan Gailey at the helm of the Buffalo Bills. Like that, this is just so. And then it's the press conferences, right? It's these waste of time press conferences where nobody asks any hard questions. Josh Allen goes up there and goes, I believe in this team. We've done it before, so we can do it again, which isn't a thing in real life, right? Like just because something happens once before doesn't mean that it's going to happen again. That's
right.
That's not something that's grounded in reality.
Mm-hmm.
And then McDermott, coach, what happened on that 12 men on the field? Well, we practiced it this week, didn't execute today. Okay. What was the message you were trying to send to James Cook by benching him after 16 plays after he fumbled the ball? Well, I told him that I believed in him.
I don't remember if it was on play 15 or not.
It's okay. Like you really showed him that you believed in him by benching him for 15 plays in the middle of the game.
I think that's some hubris, right? I think there's a fair amount of hubris there because without James Cook, the Bills went interception, punt. Right? Like those were the drives. Interception, punt with no James Cook. And the offense looked totally different without him.
Yeah.
He's
totally such an explosive player and the defenses have to account for him. Therefore, it opens up things in your secondary or in the secondary when you have James Cook on the field. They have to adjust for him. Nobody's adjusting for Latavius Murray. I'm sorry.
No, and that's the thing. It's not like last season where your alternative to Cook was Singletary, who's a competent back, right? Like we just watched Devin Singletary go 30 carries for 150 yards and a touchdown yesterday, right? Against the Bengals team that Buffalo couldn't run the football against. So it's not like, but then you go to 33-year-old oldest running back in the NFL, Latavius Murray. It's not like you go to your change of pace back, right? It's not like Leonard Fournette is active and you're bringing in this guy who's, dynamic with the ball in his hands, can catch the ball out of the backfield. Like you become so one-dimensional in the run game and with your running back, with James Cook off the field, especially if you're not going to run your quarterback who, my guys, it was just like a microcosm of this game, right? Like it was 3rd and 1 and they're running. They went back to that godforsaken shotgun draw.
Yeah.
And they got the first down. And then the 2-point conversion. It's like, what, guys, your quarterback is 6'5", 240 pounds. And that's the play you draw up from the 1-yard line for a 2-point conversion.
There was a lot going on.
There was a lot going on that. And then Gabe Davis, like, that's the ball you catch, right? Like full extension, fingertip grab, tiptoe in the back of the end zone, but you don't catch the ball that's thrown right at your face mask early in the game, right? Like it was just a microcosm of what this team has been.
You and I argued. Ryan, you and I argued about this in the group chat because you were on the just catch the damn ball train.
Catch the ball.
I looked at it this way: that ball was late, like late. Gabe was absolutely going to be open on that in cut because he had inside leverage on the corner. The linebacker was not there. Josh held onto that ball forever and threw it 155 miles an hour when most quarterbacks in the NFL throw the ball before he makes his break.
Maybe he's late on that, but it's not like he was late and then there was a defender draped on Gabe Davis, right? Yeah. Like he was still open.
I understand. Right. I'm just saying that Josh makes that pass harder by waiting. Right.
Sure, but Gabe Davis has been catching balls from Josh Allen for 4 years, right?
Yeah.
Like,
or not.
right. Like, this isn't the first time that we've seen Gabe Davis drop balls that he needs to catch. I mean, at the end of the day, Mario, we've seen strong arm quarterbacks, rifle the ball across the middle to guys. You got to catch the football.
You've been watching my highlight tapes again?
That's your job. Yeah, exactly. Like Mario just crow hopping from a 15-yard out pattern, right? Like sometimes you get the ball
Nate
on
Peterman eats your heart out.
Hey, listen. Paul can attest to this, but this isn't the discussion we're having tonight.
No. Full transparency. There's video of me dropping a 50-yard pass in the end zone at the Bill Stadium. Full transparency. That tape exists.
So I'm going to put something out on the table for you guys and for our hashtag nation in the chat. 95 in here. I better see those likes go up. Make sure you hit the subscribe button on your way out. But the point is this. I think that McDermott is a phenomenal coordinator. With duct tape and bubble gum, he has this defense playing out of its mind sometimes, and he can't get any help from his offense. Now, here's the deal. Here's the problem now I have with McDermott. He thought that his system and his infrastructure going on with his team was so good that he could go to one side of the ball and just handle that and be a part-time head coach. And it wasn't. He tried to give the reins to Josh and Dorsey, and it didn't work. And it's not working. And it's a 500 record. So he's sitting there going, yeah, I'm going to handle what I have over here. You guys do what you need to do over there. Maybe I'll challenge a play here and there, but that's it. We've seen this time and time again where guys are phenomenal coordinators. He just happens to be one, but you can't be a phenomenal coordinator when you're a head coach. Do I think he needs to get fired? Might be a little drastic at this time. I think there might be another scapegoat, but I don't know who that is. If you guys don't know who the special teams coordinator is for the Buffalo Bills, you get to learn his name. You might see it tomorrow in the newspaper where he gets fired. I'm just saying.
The reality of the situation is they can't make it. They can't do anything right now. They can't do anything with their coordinators on a short week. They got a game in 6 days. They can't make a
Right.
change at coordinator right now.
Right.
Their time to make a change at coordinator was after that Cincinnati game, or
Like, I think
the Cincinnati game.
I think
they're
the
in the bye.
difference
Still got
is
to
like,
buy. Yeah.
if you're gonna fire a position coach, right? But I mean, at what point? There's no reason to fire.
Who cares, right?
Yeah,
like,
right.
who cares?
Exactly.
What are you
Right.
Are you going to fire your wide receiver coach because Gabe
wide
Davis is
receiver
dropping
coach.
balls?
Oh, can you name the Bills wide receiver coach?
4 years.
Come on, instant trivia. Name the Bills wide receiver coach.
Paul knows this. I know.
I do. Come on,
Yeah,
guys.
I don't. There's no reason for me to know the Bills wide receiver coach.
Reggie Wayne. I have no
Ooh,
idea.
get out of here, Reggie Wayne.
Nate Geary didn't even know the punter's name on the postgame show earlier tonight. So
Adam Henry. Adam Henry.
Oh.
He was
no one knows.
co-offensive.
You could be wrong right now. Nobody would know.
He was co-offensive coordinator at Indiana, where he was also the wide receivers coach in 2022. So there you go. Now you know. Another offensive coordinator on the staff.
Yeah, no, not too
Just throwing that out there. Throwing it out there.
I said 4 weeks ago that I don't put all the blame on Dorsey. I put it on Allen, and I got freaking ridiculed by everybody. And now look what happened.
Yeah, I mean, but listen, right? Like we're in a day and age where Allen has a 7 or 8 year contract for $250 million.
Mhm.
You can blame him all you want. He's not going anywhere.
Not going anywhere. No, I know that.
Someone
I know that.
has to figure out, and you have to bring in somebody who's going to make the most out of your $250 million quarterback. Because right now, what you have is a coaching staff who has absolutely ruined a $250 million quarterback.
Well,
Because he doesn't look confident. He's clearly injured, and they're not doing things to help the fact that he's injured. Whatever is going on, there's a significant mental issue going on with Josh Allen, like a confidence problem. I mean, Steven makes a good point in the chat. Like, I don't know if it's the girlfriend. Like, I don't know. I mean, it could be anything for all we know, right?
It's got to be personnel usage within the offense, right? Because here we are, yet another week where Josh Allen throws an interception while trying to throw Deontay Hardy 35 yards down the field, right? He's the smallest receiver in the NFL. Fucking stop it. Stop it. Right?
You get one.
That's
Paul.
it. That's it. But that's the problem is, that's a player that needs to work underneath, right? He's most effective underneath. Yet he got 0 targets within 10 yards in the line of scrimmage today, right? Like it. There's
one play they should have ran to him. They ran to Ty Johnson instead.
Exactly. Exactly right. It's a personnel usage, and part of it I do think is on Josh, where the truth of the matter is you got to be able to look at the defense, and I understand what your lead route is supposed to be, like who your hot route is, who your primary target is. But if you're looking and you caught the defense with a linebacker on Deontay Hardy, you scrap everything else and you change plans. I don't think Josh does that, right? Josh is just of the mindset of, I'm just going to keep backing up and then just wait for somebody to wiggle open. And that's what we do when we're not on the first 10 plays. Once we're past the first 10 plays, this is what we get. And this is what we've always got with Josh. Whether it was Dable, whether it's Dorsey, it doesn't matter. So that tells me the system and the coaching isn't strong enough for him, where you have to wrangle that in. You're giving him a system that he can't thrive in because receivers are just making it up. Once they count 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, I can do what I want now. It's just
the read routes. Yeah, the read route.
It's not good enough.
We talked about it last week. Is that Stephon Diggs is the only guy who should be allowed to run a read route. Everyone else should run whatever's in the pattern.
Again, Mario. He did it again. It was like what, the second throw from Allen in the second possession. It was the same read route that got the intentional grounding call last week.
Yeah. Right,
but it wasn't
cut that route short.
He did it wrong again. He was hip to hip with the corner, and he ran the curl instead of hip to hip. You go deep, right? Like if you're even, you're open.
Yeah,
right.
Like, nobody taught Gabe Davis that saying. When Josh Allen's quarterback,
and curl routes are meant for the ball to be in the air when the receiver makes the cut.
Yes.
Right, curl routes are not let me turn around and just stand here and wait for you. Right,
no, like that to be thrown before he's even
absolutely
down.
And that will never happen in this offense. No. Never. You will never see it.
Anticipation
it will never
throws,
happen.
Yeah,
never happen.
Basically, what Tua does on a daily basis, like the anticipation throws. He'll throw it. Tyreek's not even off the line yet, and he throws it because he knows where he's gonna be.
Mm-hmm. Right,
and it's an offense
zone beaters
predicated on timing, and the Bills' offense is not predicated on timing.
No, it's predicated on throw to who you see. Like,
Mhm.
and the problem is, I think sometimes he thinks he's still at Wyoming, where if a guy's wide open, then you hit him. No,
Well,
they're not going to be wide open anymore. It's the NFL.
and it's frustrating because there are times where you see this offense do really smart things, right? Like I agree with Ryan, the 2-point conversion play, there's a lot going on there. That play from the 4-yard line is devastating.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
From the
Yeah.
1-yard
Yep.
line, little tough to run that. Then you see the Dalton Kincaid touchdown. Great job. Great job
Great
with
play
big,
design.
absolutely great play design, right? You run that
Yeah.
delayed wheel and beautiful, wide open, walks into the end zone, right? So
I
those are
actually
the
said
types
that
of
to
things
myself
that
in the
you really
first half.
love.
I actually said that in the first half. Like I didn't think Dorsey was calling a bad game
No,
in the
he
first
wasn't.
half.
No.
But you had 3 turnovers in the first half. Like you're not going to
Mhm.
overcome that.
No.
Right, point blank. Period. You're not going to be winning at halftime when you have 3 turnovers. I thought Dorsey, by and large, he schemed guys open. They were dropping balls.
Yep.
He called the right play. Josh threw to the wrong guy, and threw the interception. And the offensive coordinator, you can't
uninspired.
blame him for turnovers.
Mhm.
It's so uninspired. Like I don't understand some of those things that with the turnover. I mean, you have 4. How many? They have 4 turnovers.
They had 4
Well,
turnovers.
5 technically if you count on downs.
Yeah.
Do you count
Well,
on downs? Then 5.
No, you
Yeah.
don't. But
Well,
yeah,
You
could,
should.
but
You should.
that's how many teams are you even going to be in the game with 5 turnovers? I mean, that's why it's a kudos to this defense.
this
Was
defense
gifting
played its
you
ass
more.
off.
Like you had
Yeah.
3 turnovers in, like you
Mhm.
talk about 3 turnovers in the first half. They only got 6 points off of those turnovers, and
That's
they
right.
started 3 drives in your territory. Like
Mhm.
Yeah.
how?
Oh
I
yeah.
mean-
Sean McDermott mentioned that more than 3 times in his press
Mhm.
conference. Starting field
Oh.
position was -40. Like okay.
Mhm.
Like okay.
This team is becoming quickly a team that's divided. Like, and Paul's going to hate me for this because it's more than 20 years, but we and I'm not comparing the Bills to this team. I'm just doing it talking about offense and defense. The 2000 Ravens, when the Ravens didn't score offensively for a month, like that team had a very, very good chance to be divided. Be like, listen, one side of the ball's playing great, the other side's playing like dog shit. What's going to happen? And Brian Billick kept that team together, and they didn't start pointing fingers on the other side of the ball. I find that they've been pointing fingers in the Bills in the locker room for like 4 weeks now. Like they're going, you guys are, we're injury ridden, and we're still holding people for you guys. We're not creating a lot of turnovers. We understand that, but you're giving the ball to the other team in our territory. We got to hold them to 3. You guys got to start doing something. You guys have no significant injuries on the offensive side of the ball, and you're playing like dog water. Like, what the hell is going on here? And you start to see there, and you go, okay. And then we talk about it. Well, Dorsey's scheming some nice plays, and guys are open. What the hell is the problem? It's got to be Allen. You got to talk about Allen now. Like, okay, no one wants to touch the golden child and talk about him, but it's Allen. The problem is Allen with this team right now.
This team has no reason to not be scoring 50 points a game.
No reason.
Right.
None. You have so much talent on that side
and
of the
everybody's
ball.
healthy.
Yes.
Everybody's healthy.
Except probably for Allen.
Josh is the most banged up.
Yeah.
I agree.
Hey,
But
Paul, real quick though, but did you see Deion Dawkins pulling on those run plays on that touchdown? I knew he'd be a great guard, wouldn't he?
Oh, he'd be a phenomenal guard.
I'm done.
Well, so I noticed something, and I'm just going to bring it up now. So as I was watching, the last few games, I thought I saw something. It was just one of those things, like maybe it was a fever dream. I don't know. And today I saw it again. And to me, that's more than enough proof that teams really don't take Josh seriously as a runner anymore. And they don't worry about Josh as far as getting the ball out quick, right? So let me explain what I mean. So if you pick a handful of snaps, 10, 15 offensive snaps from any of the last 3 games, what you're going to notice is there is absolutely no attention paid to passing lanes. 0. This offensive line could not care less about a passing lane. You got a 6'5" quarterback with a rocket arm, and he runs backwards all day long. So they don't care about passing lanes. And that gives the advantage to the defense, right? And the reason that gives the advantage to the defense is because now the offensive line is just trying to hold on. They're just blocking the guy in front of them, and what happens, and you lose control, you lose pace, right? So if you watch, again, take 10, 15 snaps from behind center, what you're going to see is the C's open on 7 or 8 of those. The red C just opens, and there's a linebacker standing, 5, 7 yards away from the line of scrimmage, right? And the C's just part. And that's how people play the Bills now. They give you the middle of the field. They're like, go ahead. You're not gonna throw it here. So, we'll leave it wide open for you. Go ahead. And they haven't taken the bait yet. And it's just so frustrating to me to watch a team so talented pay no attention to the fundamentals of the game, such as developing passing lanes for your quarterback. Keep your quarterback in check. Keep your quarterback clean. Give him a passing lane to throw in so he doesn't have to run around all damn day. Like, go back to fundamental football, because that's where this team is missing it. They're missing the nuance of the game, and that is get your quarterbacks in passing lanes.
Yeah,
that's it.
Well, there's two examples of this game that I feel are reflective of what this offense has become after the 3 blowout losses that they had. They were both 4th down plays. They were both the 4th down plays. The one was Denver's, where they wound up scoring the touchdown. That happens because the defense or the other team is not afraid of your offense, right? They go for that 4th down.
Yeah.
They line up to kick. They
That
line
was a
up to
good
kick
call,
the field goal.
actually.
They come close to the line of scrimmage, try to get your team to jump off sides, call the timeout, and then bring the offense out on the field because they're not afraid of your offense. That was a 4th and 2 from the 7, right? They're not afraid at all of that Buffalo Bills offense.
Nope.
Then you go to the Bills' 4th down play in the 3rd quarter. I think it was the 3rd quarter. They wound up going end of the 3rd, middle of the 4th, somewhere in that range. And the old Josh Allen, and I say that meaning last year's Josh Allen, 2 years ago Josh Allen, he runs that ball. He puts his shoulder down and he runs through that defensive end. It's in pursuit. He tries to cut it back inside, dives. He takes that ball himself and goes and wills himself to that 1st down. We saw it over and over again, right? Like the Cowboys Thanksgiving game, the Chiefs game where he hurdled the player, the Minnesota game where he hurdled Anthony Barr. Like, we saw it over and over again where Josh was just like, we need 3 yards. I'm going to go get us 3 yards. And now it's just, they're tentative. They're afraid. I don't know if Allen feels like he can't check out of bad play calls that he doesn't like for whatever reason. If he sees something, Paul, like you mentioned, Deontay Hardy on a linebacker, for some reason, does he feel like he can't check out of those? And it's just, it's this offense is just, they're spiraling. The entire team is spiraling. And part of it, sure, it's Allen. He's making bad decisions. He's getting put into situations where he's got to play hero ball, but he doesn't have all the weapons at his disposal to play hero ball because they don't want him running the ball. And then you look at the head coach who's focusing on the defense. And then things, you talk about things starting to slip, bad timeouts. I was in the stadium, so I don't know the explanation, but it was the Cortland Sutton catch that I didn't think was a catch. They couldn't decide whether it was a fumble, whether it was a catch. I don't know if it was explained on the broadcast. Was that not a challengeable call, or why
it should have been
challenged?
What they said on the broadcast was that it was a catch in forward motion. And I'm like, well, why wasn't it?
Doesn't make any sense.
Why wasn't
a sliding catch, though? I don't understand. So they
why
called
wasn't
that forward momentum,
spotted?
which means they can't challenge it, right?
I don't know. Like,
well, they also blew
the fumble itself.
Well, they blew the fumble. They blew the play down before possession.
But they call it a completed catch, right?
They did.
So I think the problem that I had with it was either a fumble or an incomplete pass because he didn't have the ball long enough.
I didn't think he did.
But I was just curious. But these are things like you see McDermott yelling on the sideline and arguing, and it's like, throw the red flag, right? Like,
I thought he should have threw it on
before. Belichick's done it. Reed's done it. Just throw the red flag, at least to get the whistle blown so the refs can talk to you and say, no, you can't challenge that or whatever.
I think he was
trying to get an explanation.
I think he was gun shy from the week before to throw the flag because he lost the timeout on the Sherfield catch last week. And that's one of he might have been gun shy. I thought he should have threw
I thought
the
that was a
flag.
catch, by the way.
Well, yeah, it could have been a catch, but I thought I mean, okay, I thought it was incomplete or it's a catch, but the forward motion still was very close to the first down marker. It wasn't well over it. I thought there should have been a measurement at least. It wasn't just a knockdown, drag out. Oh yeah, it's a first down.
Well,
No.
I think the risk of throwing the flag there is if you throw the challenge flag, the refs come over and they say, "So you're challenging the spot of the ball," and he's
Sure.
gonna. And what's he gonna say? No, I'm challenging. I'm challenging that it was a completion, right?
And then they say you can't challenge that, and he says, "Okay, then I'll challenge the spot." I mean,
yeah, I thought he should have challenged before they had the third down play. I thought Wilson threw that ball backwards on that same drive. I thought that ball
it was
went
close.
backwards.
It was close.
If
Yeah,
anything, it went laterally, but we as Bills fans already know that probably is not going in our way. I thought he should have challenged that one. And then the next play was when Wilson flipped it and it ended up getting a first down on it. But how many third and longs could we have where this defense gives up 3rd and 13, first down, 3rd and 11, first down, 3rd and 12, first down? It's just it's frustrating as hell.
Yeah, I mean
that you have
that
these
also
great plays on 1st and 2nd, you can't get them off the damn field.
A lot of those also came when they had been on the field for
37 minutes today. 37 minutes. The defense was
I mean,
again,
I mean, it's a shorthanded defense. They're already shorthanded. They got DeMar Hamlin playing at safety.
They're doing great. They're doing great
in key situations. Like the fact that they won this game. They had this game won. This defense, the way that it's been playing, deserves to be 6-3, 7-2, whatever. Like they deserve to be a lot better than what this offense has led them to.
That sounds familiar, Ryan.
Well, and if you look at this team now, the Bills are now 5-5.
Saturday.
Well, the Bills are now 5-5, right? So that means that to get to 10-7, you can only drop 2 more games, and you got a nasty schedule coming. Nasty.
I mean, listen. I mean, I don't know if I see 2 more wins on this schedule. I mean,
with knowing what we know now.
From?
Knowing what we know now, is that the thought here?
Just as of tonight, after watching what this team has done over the last 4 games, and I mean, where do we see 2 wins, let alone 5?
So here's what I think is so interesting about this whole conversation, right? So you saw James Cook get benched for 16 plays because he fumbled the ball, and then he proceeded to do it a couple more times. But the difference between Latavius Murray and James Cook is huge. There's a huge gap there. And I understand Latavius Murray was very productive, right?
Yep.
But you went and signed
last year, right?
Well, and you went and you signed Leonard Fournette, which to me is a better gap filler there, right? Your offense is still more complete with Leonard Floyd. So if you're without Cook, Leonard Fournette it bridges that gap for you, right? Much better than Latavius Murray. So do you see Leonard Fournette next week? Because every game's win now. Like there's no games you cannot afford to lose any more games. That's it. You can't afford to lose any more games because Miami's schedule looks pretty good if you're them. So you're trying to play catch up here. You expect to see Leonard Fournette next week.
I expected to see Leonard Fournette this week, and then Latavius Murray called the players only meeting. And
ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's an interesting one.
That's interesting,
and that went well, by the way. Went very well.
Clearly went well.
Like
Clearly went
just
well.
Just like McDermott said that they had a couple, some good days of practice this week. So hope everybody.
I mean, the
feels better about
defense.
how
If he's talking about the defense only, that's fine. I mean, but you got the Jets, Eagles, and your bye. But you have now 5 losses in the conference.
Yeah. No, that's what I mean. Like
if you run the table, you're 7-5 in the conference. That's not gonna win you any tiebreakers. That's not gonna win you any tiebreakers.
No, you got to hope on both a Jets and Dolphins collapse, and you got to get hot at the right time. But you got to win the next 2 games, and then come out of the bye and piss pound the Chiefs to even have any kind of. Then you'd be 8-5 with 3 more conference games left.
Yeah, I mean, and here's the issue. Even if you get to, let's say, 9-8, 10-7, right? Like, You don't have the tiebreaker over the Bengals, right? So you got to hope that the Bengals win the division and you get into some type of a tiebreaker situation with the Ravens. The Texans are as hot as can be right now. Yep. They're winning the South, and you don't have the tiebreaker over Jacksonville. So, you've already lost once to the Jets. You're going to have a worse divisional record than both the Jets and the Dolphins because you've already lost to the Patriots, who would never like who shouldn't beat anybody with the way that they're playing right now.
Would never.
I mean, again, like we're looking at this team, and it's like I've seen people in the chat say Jets and Dolphins that the Bills are going to beat. Like, based on what? Or Jets and Pats? Like, based on what? You've already lost to them once before, and your offense is markedly worse than it was against the Jets the first time around. I mean, I don't know. I can't look at this schedule and go, yep, that's a win. There's not a single team left on this schedule.
The Bills failed to set up the second half of the season, right? They failed to set that up.
Oh, yeah. And the only solace I could take out of it, because Paul, you said it yourself, there's no reason this offense shouldn't put up 50 every week.
Right.
There has not been a game, and I might take some heat from this in the chat. You guys tee off if you want. There's not been a game where I've seen the opposing team beat the Bills. They have 5 losses, and I could go through each of those games with everyone in this chat right now and say, this is why they lost this game. It wasn't anything that was done to them. It wasn't that they were overpowered, overmatched. They couldn't play. They couldn't do this. They had this stopped on them. So they beat themselves. And I know it's going to sound like a very Billsy response. Oh, yeah, nobody beat you. Nick, go through the 5 losses. I'll click on it myself. You look at it.
I'd push back on the Bengals game, but beyond that, I would largely agree.
The Bengals probably, yeah. But you look at today. The one thing I could fault Dorsey for, and Paul, you've said this many a times, teams dare the Bills to run.
Yeah.
With Allen back there, they're like, a run is a win against any team when the Bills decide to run the ball. And they dared them. And it took them till like the 4th quarter to realize, hey, I can run the ball all day on this team. Oh, nice. That's the only thing I can fault Dorsey for today. You should have ran the ball a little bit more. But the Patriots didn't beat you. The Jags didn't beat you. The Jets week 1 didn't beat you. You beat yourself. You threw 3 picks to one guy.
I mean, Mario, but it was a 50-50 run to pass today. They ran the ball 26 times.
Well, a lot of that was in the second half.
He
gave.
Yeah,
they
because
were giving it to
Josh
you all
threw
game.
Because Josh threw 2 interceptions. You fumbled on the first play from scrimmage. You didn't have as many plays as you normally would like to.
True. Yeah,
he ran the ball 26 times for 190 yards.
You should win games with that. You should win games with that stat line.
I would argue that this is the best running game that they've had all season tonight. They ran the ball better than they have all season, I thought.
Well, I'm on the stat sheet, right? Like, you put the ball on the turf 3 times running the football today,
one 2 fumbles were on Cook. One of the lost fumbles was on Cook, and the other one was on Allen. I have no idea what Allen was doing on that.
He dropped it into his stomach. It was so weird. Like, watching the replay, it didn't even make any sense.
Yeah, but I mean, I just think if this was, I go back to Mario's point, and it was a really good one. If you look at Sean McDermott as the defensive coordinator, he's doing a phenomenal job. This defense came out in completely different look than we've seen, and I tweeted it out, and I know I pointed it out in the chat. When's the last time we've seen a Sean McDermott defense where you have a corner follow the number 1 receiver all over the field?
Never. We haven't seen it
I can't remember the last time we've done it.
He never had a corner that can do that.
Second season? I mean, maybe Trey White in his second season. I kind of remember maybe at that point when it was all pro.
Trey's never been that guy. Trey was always more of a physical corner than
he's always
corner.
He's a side of the field corner. And they came out in some situations, they just went straight man, and brought.
It's easier to do. It's easier to do.
Absolutely,
right. That's
absolutely.
And once you have
defense with. Yeah, I mean, that's an aggressive style of defense, right? Man to man, you send your number 1 corner on their number 1 receiver. That's an aggressive style of defense, and they drew 1 defensive penalty. It was inopportune, but it was 1 defensive penalty all game. Right? They didn't pick up any pass interferences until the end. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
he's on IR. He's on IR.
If you're going to move
he's
to a
on IR right
man-to-man,
now.
right? If you're going to move to a man-to-man, how'd you like to have a primary man corner who's big
Right.
and strong? Like that's
Exactly.
that's exactly the kind of defense that Elam should be playing in.
But I think it does bring up a problem where you run into Teron Johnson being on Jerry Jeudy all day long. Like it wasn't hard to get Teron in bad matchups today. And I think Teron played great, to be honest with
he
you.
played
But he was on
amazing.
the field a lot.
Yeah, but I mean, how much is that? Is
lot.
Judy's a true slot corner, and they play
Mhm.
or a slot receiver, and they play him there. So
Right.
that's
Yeah.
just where Teron's going to line up because you're not going to put Dane Jackson inside and play him in the slot because then you've
He
got to
played
move
well
Teron
today,
Not
to
right
too.
now.
you've got to play Teron to a boundary corner, and that's not
Mhm.
going to work at all, right?
Right.
So, like, what's your other option? You're going to drop Jordan Poyer into coverage on Jerry Jeudy? Like, good luck, right? Like, that's not
Yeah.
going to
Oh my
happen.
God.
You're just
Yeah.
so undermanned right now at the corner
Mhm.
position that you that's what happens when you line up, and that's what's going to happen when Buffalo plays the Dolphins again. Like, Teron Johnson's going to wind up on Jalen Waddle, and good God, you think Jerry Jeudy had a good game tonight?
So
Jalen Waddle might go for 200 yards against.
Well,
Buffalo.
Judy went 3 for 35 and drew the penalty. That was,
It's, for
those
Jerry
are-
Jeudy, that might be the best game he's had all season.
yeah. But then
Dorian,
go ahead.
no. Go ahead, Mark. Go ahead.
No, I'm saying I was going to make a point, but it's counterproductive to the points I've been making all year. But because Hyde wasn't in there, it was Rapp,
Mhm.
and this defense didn't seem like they missed Hyde. You know what I mean? Like they were playing a different style of defense, but it didn't look like they missed Hyde back there.
I think there were times where Rapp got caught.
This also
there
wasn't a vertical offense that they played against.
That's
No.
true.
Either.
Yeah.
That's typically where you would see a loss of Hyde be big is a vertical offense. They don't.
Yeah.
They didn't run a lot of verticality tonight.
Verticality, is that a word? Is
Yeah.
now. All right.
Sure is.
The Dorian
up.
Williams. I will look it up.
Just like I'm going
the,
to check the quarterback coach.
This is Joe Brady. You don't have to check that. The penalty on Dorian Williams, 15, the 15-yarder. I'm sorry,
He's
guys.
playing
Like
linebacker, man.
That's textbook.
that's what I
textbook.
mean. It's shoulder, yeah, it clipped the front of the face mask. Like the guy's already going down. Like what?
What is he supposed to do?
It's
right?
exactly, but it's a similar argument to the defensive pass interference on Teron, where it's like, okay, if you're the defender, what are you supposed to do on an underthrown ball here?
Well, turn
Right,
around and play
like,
the ball.
I
Right, like-
agree, but what I'm
He was
saying
trying.
is you could see the perspective of victim of circumstance on both of those,
Sure,
right? Like there's an argument for that on either side. So this is the ticky tack stuff in the NFL. I know they're saying they're trying to clean up the game. I would not in any way huff about that hit at all. There's
no.
nothing to be ashamed of there.
No.
That was a perfectly clean hit. It was 15 yards. It didn't need to happen.
No, it was. I mean, the things that they choose to legislate on the field really baffle me sometimes. And and I didn't want to make this post game about the refs, but like I said, they had some questionable calls there. And like I said at the onset of it, and Ryan, you weren't here yet. If they're gonna change that rule where it's an underthrown ball and the defender's running into the receiver, you either leave it the way it is and it's cut and dry, or you leave it up to the ref's interpretation of what the defender was doing. And I don't think anybody in any NFL fan, any fan base wants it left up to the ref to decide, because they're always going to decide wrong.
Yeah, and I mean, again, and that drive was the 4th down touchdown to Cortland Sutton. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day,
Huge penalty.
You should have gotten out of that. You should have gotten out of that penalty, that bad penalty. You should have gotten out of there probably giving up at least a field goal, no points, right? Like, but then nobody's afraid of your offense. Wilson makes a throw. Rapp, for whatever reason, is 15 yards away from Sutton, although Sutton's the only true wide receiver on the field at the time. Like, it was just a comedy of errors, that entire drive.
Next gen stats had that at 3.2% completions. Like, that's completion percentage that would happen. 3.2.
I mean, it was
it was an insane catch.
It looked like Wilson was just trying to get rid of the ball.
He just
threw it to the corner. He's just like, YOLO.
Well, yeah. I mean, and again, I mean, if I would go back and watch the play, but that happened right in front of where I sit. When Russell Wilson let go of that, was not a Bills player within 12 yards of Jerry Jeudy.
Right.
Or I'm sorry, of Cortland Sutton. And that
Mhm.
can't happen, right? Like that can't happen on 4th and 2. You can't lose the number 1 receiver in the back of the end zone.
Mhm.
So
What's Shaq Lawson doing in there on that play?
I don't know. What are they doing
He's
dropping
so
Von
slow.
Miller into coverage? Like
Von-
We can't rush
in
the
fourth
rush the
quarter.
passer.
Then get him off the field, right? Like then
he's severe
Von's been
liability.
dreadful. It's been dreadful.
and certainly made worse by the fact that at the end of the game, Epinesa steps up, Rousseau steps up, Oliver steps up, and then they bring out Von Miller again. It's like, guys, what are we doing here again? Like
Right.
it's inmates running the asylum at this point. You're worried about what Von's going to say on his podcast at this point if you're not playing him.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because you have these.
No,
these
actually,
younger
interesting.
guys.
Somebody asked the question. Sean McDermott did not mention complimentary football in his press conference tonight. He did not bring up complimentary football.
Did not. Nope.
You better not.
But he says that he still has faith in Dorsey, but they still need to improve.
And I found it interesting. I generally have an issue with the way that the media has been covering McDermott over the last few weeks because I feel like he goes unchallenged with a lot of his nonsense. But I don't know who it was, but somebody did ask him, Josh said in his press conference that he has confidence in this offense because they've done it before. Because, based on what that you've done it before, does that mean you can do it again? And
isn't that the question? He's like, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, he's like, I don't understand the question. And they kind of rephrased it a little bit. And he's just like, we have the personnel, we know we can be successful and I have faith in this team. And it's like, again, but I understand why the media does it. These guys are worried about getting their creds pulled and, all that kind of stuff. But I feel like there's a lot of people being easy on McDermott here. Like they don't challenge him. They asked him about James Cook. His answer was, well, I told him that I believed in him. And then it was next question instead of the follow-up question being, how do you suppose that you showed him that you believed in him when you sat him for 15 straight plays? Like the two of those things don't line up. Like,
effectively 3 drives. He got sat for 3 drives.
If you're going to bench James Cook for fumbling for the first time all season, second time in his entire career, why is Gabe Davis still getting snaps immediately after a ball goes through his hands and it gets intercepted? Like those are follow-up questions that I would like to hear, but fully understand why they don't get asked from the people who don't ask them, because again, they're dependent on the Bills giving them credentials. If they lose their credentials, then their employers don't have much use for them. But by and large, I would like harder questions to be thrown at this.
Well, we're never going to have that because those guys are almost handpicked at this point. And
yeah, and I mean, I'm on record time and time again, just saying that eventually, just that nonsense is going to go away, right? Like those
just going to be
scrums are just going to go away.
Yeah,
it's just going to be Chris Brown and Matty Glab, and that's the only time you're ever going to hear questions getting asked of people. So it won't be long, less than 5 years.
Do you guys think that the Bills' offense would look different had they added a receiver at the trade deadline? I think it's a fair question, right? Because Stephon Diggs walks away with 3 receptions today. Gabe Davis had a bunch of targets, and we know Gabe Davis is not the straw that stirs the drink, right? A lot of times when you have a lot of Gabe targets, the game did not go as planned. So do you think adding a receiver to this offense would have made a difference?
I think that if you're a bad cook, it doesn't matter what ingredients I give you.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment, Mario. I don't think that there's anything that this offense has shown over the last 4 games that indicates that they would know what to do with an additional weapon, because they're not utilizing guys who are being effective, right? Like Kincaid is being used great, like he's being used really well. Where's Khalil Shakir gone since he had his big game against the Giants? Big drive, right? And then all of a sudden he was gone. Like
2 targets today, and the one was the overthrow on the 4th.
Well,
like,
and
where's the free agent signing of Trent Sherfield?
He was banged up. He was banged up today.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, I mean,
I get it. I know the point you're making.
Yeah.
Well, I think if we go back to the Giants game, that was all scripted for Shakir, right? And that was to get pressure off. Like, that was to get pressure off Diggs early. And I don't think Shakir made a catch until the 3rd quarter today.
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, the 20-yarder.
2 targets, 1 catch for 24.
Yeah, and Allen didn't want to go to him. He tried
And
going
that
to
was
the inside route to Davis, and then he double clutched it and threw it to Shakir on the sideline after he
It was
pumped
wide
it.
open. It was
Yeah,
wide
finally
open.
made the right read.
Yeah, the safety
Took
came
him
up
too long
and
to get there, but he finally made the right read.
he pumped it, and the safety came up and left Shakir because he thought he was throwing that. That's why he was so wide open on the outside. It was crazy. Like it's like you do have more weapons in this offense, albeit your best weapons are Diggs, Cook, and Kincaid. But
Yeah, I mean,
there's
at
other
the end of
guys
the
in this
day,
offense that can be dangerous and give pressure off of those guys so they can't just game plan and put Surtain on Diggs and shut him down the whole game, and then you got to go somewhere else.
yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you can't end a football game that you lose that Latavius Murray has 3 targets. Like that can't happen. It just can't happen.
Well, little drama setting in. Trayvon Diggs tweeting that his brother's got to get out of Buffalo.
Fully agree.
That's interesting.
Get Diggs to a winner, because
a little late for that.
Ooh.
Maybe he'd be a hell of a number 2 somewhere. Like,
well, we're gonna have a lot of answers. We're gonna have a lot of questions answered this week because a lot of times in the past when the Bills had trouble, we thought they were going to have trouble and there's going to be infrastructure problems. Hey, they won, so no one said anything. Well, they're not winning now. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting to see what's going to probably unfold at one Bills drive this week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm here for it.
There's a lot coming out of in the past. Like McDermott and Bean were tight as a drum at one Bills drive. And this season you're seeing chinks in the armor. You're seeing, water springing from the seams, and we're going to find out pretty quick how much this culture can patch over some things, because there's only so long that a coaching staff can fly without any accountability being passed either down or across before infighting starts, finger pointing starts, and there's bigger problems, right? And if this wasn't the same ownership group that owned the Buffalo Sabres, I would be optimistic that somebody would step in and say, if we don't make some type of a significant move, there's going to be a long-term problem, because we've got guys under long-term deals who are here who are now arguing with each other, right? Like franchise pieces like Ed Oliver getting frustrated, Josh Allen getting frustrated. Like these are deals that are unmovable for the foreseeable future. And we can't have these guys at each other's throats, because regardless of who the leader is, like that's going to be a bigger problem. If this was Jerry Jones, I'd be optimistic that there'd be some drastic change coming, right, wrong, or indifferent. Whether he's going to go hire the right guy after that, I don't know. But, something's got to get done. Like this is a back weeks. These weeks are back-to-back losses. Someone's heads need to roll, but I just have no faith that that's going to happen.
I think it's interesting when you look at the dichotomy of the organization, right? Where I think McDermott has his fingers in on all the personnel, right? Because sometimes your GM needs to tell the head coach, listen, I know you don't love this guy, but I'm telling you he's what you need, right? And that's what makes a good football organization. It's the same in business, right? I don't like it when my boss tells me what to do, but there are times when my boss is right and I am not totally informed, right? I don't think Bean has that with McDermott. I think they like to kumbaya and kind of, come together. But on the opposite side of that, I think McDermott gets what he wants, and Bean is willing to pay the price on his defense for that. And then he's left with not a lot of resources to pump into the offense, right? And you just hope that Josh Allen makes everybody better. I give Bean a lot of credit, because the McGovern signing looks like a good one. The Torrance pick looks like a good one, right? Like there's some good things happening on the offense, but your skill positions are dreadful. It's dreadful.
You got Josh, you've got Diggs, Kincaid looks like he's developing into a pretty decent weapon. James Cook is fine, right? Like he's good for what the Bills need, but he's not gonna, he's not Jonathan Taylor, he's not, Breece Hall, he's not gonna be those bell cow type of guys. I think we've seen that from him, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe Devin Singletary should have come back. Like, maybe they need a 1B at, maybe that'll be Leonard Fournette or something. But Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, roster construction is kind of all over the place. It seems as though, for whatever reason, they don't know how to fix the wide receiver position. They went out and got Diggs, and then they haven't really done much of that. And I think I talked about it last week during the postgame, maybe, but I mean, this is eerily similar to what happened in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers, where they just couldn't figure out the skill position players.
Value shopping. They're just value shopping. It's the list of wide receivers is different every year. And they clearly went after a profile this offseason of they wanted a forest of wide receivers, because there were only, I think, 2 or 3 rostered receivers in the preseason that were under like 6'2" or 6'3". Like, they were big guys. And where are we? We're still rostering Trent Sherfield, and still got Deontay Hardy, and still got Gabe Davis, and you still got Stephon Diggs. But the value shopping of wide receivers has cost you a lot of time and snaps, right? Because I'd love to have an option that I could look at and say, you know what, Gabe, I don't love your vision here. We're going to do something else. But the cupboards are empty. You're getting Gabe Davis the rest of the season. I know the chat's not happy with it. And I'm sure people are going to be yelling about Andy Isabella. Guys, no receivers getting targets in this offense right now. You know, like meaningful targets.
And you look at what they did in the draft, right? And it's not like they made the wrong decision by picking Kincaid, right? Like, look at the wide receivers that were taken after him. Like, would you rather have Kincaid or Jonathan Mingo or Quentin Johnston, or like the list goes on? The only one maybe is Tank Dell, but he's technically the wide receiver 3 in Houston. You're doing good things, but he's technically the wide receiver 3. So, like, they made the right decision by doing what they did. The problem is that they didn't go out and address in free agency. They didn't bring in the right guys in free agency. They didn't pursue the right guys because they thought that Gabe Davis going into a contract year would be enough at wide receiver 2. So they didn't pursue DeAndre Hopkins. They didn't pursue any number of trade targets, Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy. The list goes on and on about guys who potentially could have been had for a trade because, again, it's this, I believe in the guys that I've got, and that's just, McDermott. That's been his entire tenure at head coach. Is I believe in the guys that I've got in the locker room, so we don't need to do anything else. We don't need to get better at certain positions. It's just maddening.
Yeah.
Well, and then you look at the 49ers, just keep adding, right? And there's a future price to pay. There's a future price to pay. Yeah, the Eagles and the 49ers, they're just stacking, right? But again, there's a future price to pay there, because like in the Eagles case, obviously you're paying Jalen, but with the 49ers not paying a quarterback, right? So you've got a little bit more in the cupboard, but the fact still remains that good teams go out and take advantage of their window. And I think with Buffalo, your window is really predicated on how long Stephon Diggs can stay healthy. If Diggs isn't healthy, this offense is going to be worse than what you've seen the last 3 weeks. Right? Significantly worse. That. Well, it's just the truth, man. Like, your window is Diggs. Whatever his window is what your window is right now, because you failed to replicate or replace. That's just it. It's as simple as it is.
Yeah, it's a little brutal. Well, I think we've exhausted the amount of logical, objective takes we can have on this team for this episode tonight for the post game. Hopefully, hashtag Nation Bills Mafia, we put your mind at ease a little bit with some of the things that we talked about. Like, we have identified the problems. We understand what the problems are. This team is so frustrating right now, because if this team was a drought team at 5-5, I don't think any of us would care. But because of the talent that's on this team that's been assembled, drafted by Bean, acquired by Bean, however you want it, it's very frustrating, because you could see that this team, as Paul said, this offense could put up 50 a game. This defense being held together by duct tape and bubble gum is holding teams for as much as they can. And then eventually, if you leave them on the field for 35 minutes, they're going to break. And that's just the reality of it. That's any team in the NFL. Yeah. So they have to try to fix it. They have to try to fix it fast. They have 2 games before the bye. Not likely that maybe they'll get a split if they're lucky. But playing the way that they're playing right now, they're going to go 5-7 into the bye, and then there's going to be other questions to be answered. Whereas if they do go 5-7 into the bye, if no coordinator has been fired by that point, will they get fired at that point? So, I mean, if you lose those games like 45-42 and the offense is clicking, maybe Dorsey saves his job for another week. Who knows? But
Man,
they better
where's
figure
paid?
something out, because they're staring down not only the playoffs, but they're staring down those PSL announcements coming out for that new stadium. And
yeah,
oh boy, you
Man,
better
where's-
hope you don't have a sub 500 team when you start asking people to hand you $500 just for PSLs and then season tickets on top of it. This is there's a reason that those numbers haven't been released as of yet to the public, and I think that's a PR move by the team that's looking at a bad football team on the field and saying we can't try to sell tickets to a brand new stadium when we don't even know if our team's any good.
Where's Pedro Serrano with a live chicken to take the hex off our team?
there you go. One whole chicken.
Yeah, you got to offer the rum to Jobu or something.
That's right.
All right. Hashtag Nation Bills Mafia, thank you for joining us for the Hashtag Sports presentation of the Buffalo Bills versus the Denver Broncos post game, where the Buffalo Bills came up short 24-22. It's going to be a little tough sledding for the Buffalo Bills. Check out all of our links: TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. This show is sponsored by Mr. Rogers Homes. Link in the description. All episodes go to iTunes and Spotify. For Paul and Ryan, I am Mario. Time to go to sleep. We're out of here.
Thank you, Paul, as well as the rest of the Hashtag Sports crew. It's an honor being a sponsor. Investing in real estate, especially in the Phoenix metro area, may change your financial picture forever. And it's easier than you may think. I'm originally from Buffalo, New York, and proud of it. Yet I live in the Valley of the Sun, have for decades, and love it. I also humbly run one of the top real estate teams in Arizona. We help others score, as it were, when it comes to buying, selling, renting, and of course, investing in real estate. I've been a multi-million-dollar producer for many years, and the Mr. Rogers Homes Arizona real estate team has earned the top spot at West USA Realty for 10 years plus. Again, thank you, Hashtag Sports, Go Bills, and God bless America.